When the lawyer opened the will, the room went absolutely silent, but it wasn't because of the money. It was because the name written at the very top was hers. The woman everyone thought was just the cleaner, not the wife, not the son, not the powerful, confident relative sitting right there in the front row. Her. You have to stay with this story, because the ending explains everything, and it is truly unbelievable. For 12 long years, a woman named Esther cleaned the house of Chief Aidwale, a businessman so respected his name was known all across the city. Her routine was relentless. She arrived before the sun came up and left long after it had set. She never, ever missed a day. Esther scrubbed the floors until they shone. She washed mountains of dishes. And she even raised his children when their own mother was, as she put it, too busy. Through it all, she stayed silent. She endured insults that would make most people walk out. She patiently waited through late salaries. She swallowed the disrespect that was served to her daily. To this wealthy, powerful family, she was completely invisible. A shadow moving through the halls. To Chief Aidwale, she was useful, just useful, or at least that's what everyone, including Esther, believed. Then, everything changed. Chief Aidwale fell sick. It was a slow, debilitating illness. And suddenly, his family disappeared, one by one. They found excuses. There were urgent business trips they just couldn't miss. There were important meetings that couldn't be rescheduled. There were high-profile social events they had to attend. The grand house grew quiet, emptier than it had ever been, but Esther stayed. She was the one who fed him when he was too weak to lift a spoon. She was the one who bathed him when he could no longer care for himself. And in the dead of night, when the pain kept him awake, she was the one who listened to his regrets, the heavy burdens he'd carried for years. One evening, his voice was barely a whisper. He looked at her and said, Esther ... After all I've done ... after everything ... I still owe you. Esther just smiled politely, a gentle, tired smile. She'd heard promises before. They were just words, easily spoken and just as easily forgotten. She didn't expect anything. Chief Aidwale died quietly on a Tuesday morning. By Friday, the house was full again. It was overflowing. Relatives appeared from everywhere, all dressed in expensive black clothes. They filled the grand rooms, their voices not filled with grief, but with hushed, excited whispers about property, bank accounts, and company shares. They were already dividing the spoils, and where was Esther? She stood at the back of the room, near the door, almost hidden by a curtain. No one even looked at her. No one offered her a seat. To them, she was still just a part of the furniture. The lawyer, a stern-looking man, finally adjusted his glasses. He cleared his throat, and a hush fell over the room. He began to read from the will. The first shock hit the room like a physical blow. The main house, the sprawling mansion they were all sitting in, was left entirely to Esther. A wave of murmurs and confused whispers swept through the crowd. People turned to look at each other, their faces a mixture of disbelief and anger. How could this be? The lawyer continued, his voice steady. The second shock was even bigger. The majority of the company's shares, the very foundation of the family's wealth, were to be transferred into a trust. And the sole trustee, the person in complete control, Esther. The whispers turned into audible gasps. The son's face went pale. The wife looked like she was about to faint. But the third shock, the final revelation, didn't just shock the room, it completely destroyed it. The lawyer paused, looked directly at the family, and began reading a final, personal letter from Chief Aidwale himself. The letter explained everything. 12 years ago, shortly after his son was born, Chief Aidwale made a horrifying discovery. His biological son had been switched at birth in the hospital. The child he had raised, the boy he called his son, was not his, and Esther knew. She was the nurse on duty in the maternity ward that fateful night. The other family had offered her a massive bribe to keep quiet, to let the switch stand, but Esther refused. She kept the truth locked away, not for money, but to protect an innocent child from a life of scandal and chaos. She chose integrity over wealth. Chief Aidwale had found out about her role in the secret. So, for 12 years, he had been testing her. He hired her as a cleaner to keep her close, to watch her. He wanted to see if her character was truly as strong as he believed. Every insult she endured, every late payment she accepted without complaint, every act of quiet dignity was a test. And for 12 years, she passed every single one without ever knowing she was being watched. The room erupted. The family screamed betrayal. They shouted, they cried, they threatened lawsuits. They called her a thief, a manipulator, a liar. They accused her of blackmailing a sick old man. But it was no use. The documents were airtight. The will was legally binding. Esther hadn't stolen a single thing. She had earned it. She had earned it with 12 years of silence, 12 years of integrity, and a lifetime of sacrifice. Now, here is the part of the story that truly shows her character. With all this wealth and power, what did Esther do? Did she take revenge? Did she throw the family out onto the street? No, she did the opposite. She used the money to set up education funds for all the children, including the son who was not Chief Aidwale's biological child. She paid the hospital bills for the relatives who had treated her so poorly. And then, one day, she quietly packed a small bag, walked away from the grand house, and never looked back. She had been tested by power, and unlike the family, she had passed. Her character remained untouched. This story makes you think. It makes you realize that the quietest people, the ones we often overlook, are the ones who carry the deepest truths and the strongest integrity. If you believe that true character is revealed not by what we say, but by what we do when no one is watching, then subscribe to our channel for more stories that matter. Thanks for watching.